So tonight, our topic is one of those wonderful ones that we're all hearing about all of the time, the current trends with inbound marketing and social media. So I subtitled it, The 5 Social Media Truths You Need to Know for 2012. So how many of you in here have a smartphone? Okay, if you'll look around the room, I'm going to guess we're about 40%. The reason that that's important is if you have a smartphone, if you have a scanner on your phone, or you can download a free scanner for any smartphone, you can follow this presentation on the web. And on your handout today, that is detailed for you. So you can directly hook to that presentation and go back through and pick up information that we offer. Yes?
This top one?
Yes, that would be the top one. The second one is the scan that will take you to register for the class. Social media is huge. And what we do is allocate 9 hours to it, but God forbid we go through that in one day. We'll take that in 3 segments in November, and we'll talk about a strategy for social media. And if you happen to enroll in that class, you'll get an email from me, and I'll want to know your #1 goal. Again, because I think you teach to what people want to know. There's so much that we could all be here for a year if we didn't do it any other way. So when we talk about this topic, I want to explain some words. Traditional marketing is outbound. That means that people broadcast stuff. You know, we have newspapers. Most of you are young enough that you won't remember when there were only 3 TV networks. But look at what's happened to TV. Look at cable. Look at what's happened. Traditional media, which is all the direct marketing, all of everything that you can think of that we call advertising, is getting quite a bit less effective. Right? None of us really watch it. I mean, I have TiVo, so I block the commercials. In fact, 2 zips and I'm through, 3 zips and I'm on to the next segment. I have caller ID, so I block my phone. I have spam filters on my email. Guess why? Because we're being interrupted 24/7. The average person in here gets 2,000 brand messages a day. 2,000! These are interruptions. They're things that make you go off track for whatever you were thinking. I love this quote from J. Walter Thompson, which is the 4th largest ad agency in the world. And the president said, audiences everywhere are tough. They don't have time to be bored or browbeaten by orthodox, old-fashioned advertising. We need to stop interrupting what people are doing and start being what people are doing. Does that make sense? That's the popularity then of social media. Now, Henry Luce is just kind of a small-time businessman, if you don't know him. He had the Time Life magazine empire, lived in Scottsdale. But he had this quote. He said, business, more than any other occupation, is a continual dealing with the future. So if you're not thinking about the future, you'll be out of business. But it's inbound conversations that count today. Inbound means linking into our website or talking face-to-face across a desk. or through social media. It's really changed. And it's totally changed everything about how we communicate. In fact, I predict that by this time next year, there will be an adjustment in the dictionary, because you and I both know that friend used to be a noun and it is now a verb, right? The top 10 jobs from 2010 didn't exist in 2004. 50% of all workers today have been in their job less than 5 years. And the facts just kind of roll on and on, but it's a pretty interesting video about the future. That's what we're dealing with. And that's why we're here tonight, because we know, in the back of our head, we know social interactions are effective. But we've been in maybe turtle mode. You know, we've not put our neck all the way out, and we've been a little slow to adopt this social media thing, and we're kind of waiting. If you're like some of the people I know, maybe you like to have things pretty perfect before you begin. Get over it. Perfect's not where it's at. Or maybe you procrastinate. You're going to do that. You're going to learn that, and when you do, then you're going to be in social media. It's not going to slow down. The steamroller will keep coming. So your job, should you choose to accept it, is to dive in. But at least you're doing it in a smart way. There's a myth we're going to talk about in here also. So the myth is social marketing saves you money. Okay, it is free. Great. But your time is worth something. If you have a business, if you have a hobby, if you do anything where you value your time, then you have to count that against what you put into social media. And there is a learning curve. But I promise you, it's not brain surgery. And having an idea of what you want will make a huge difference in what you get out of it. It's true that social makes a difference. Some of the statistics that I read are there's an 18% increase in sales as a result of sharing. So if your friend shares that they like something and you buy it as a result, sharing worked. I have 3 or 4 people in here who work for nonprofits. So the latest statistic I see on nonprofits is that fundraising increases 40% as a result of social media. That's huge. Remember, what's happening with traditional? You know, it's just taking a nosedive. So part of what we have to do is figure it out. Find a way. Email expenditures and search expenditures are all going up. The reason? They're digital. People know that they are less money than a full-blown TV campaign, for example, but it may make a huger difference. So in the next 90 days, which is the time we have before 2012, you have an opportunity to whip your strategy in shape and do something dramatically different for the new year. You can do it with some of the information that you will get here this evening. You can also come to the social media class, Marketing with Social Media, which will run in November, and do it even more so. I'm going to talk about 5 trends and the actions that you can take to combat the trends. Now, this will be a big news flash if you've already read it. Explosive channel growth leads to channel fatigue. Well, hello. How much can you do? One of the things we have to be aware of as people who are starting to adopt social media, if you put it in, what are you going to take out? This isn't just part of life that we keep adding to. That's why people are in overwhelm. And it's making a difference. There are also statistics that show some of that fatigue is wearing off in social media. Don't think that it will go away. That's not a reason to keep on procrastinating. The people who want fresh, innovative, new now are largely in that 18 to 25 year group. And you know, they're going to have fresh and new. They're going to be all done with Facebook and onto some new network long before we've mastered it. And that's okay. We live in what I call the attention economy. And this is an infographic that's on a place called Only Infographics. And if you're ever looking for tongue-in-the-cheek ideas, they have them. But I think it's kind of interesting to talk about the 10 ways we communicate. Number 10 is talking. Number 9 is video chat. Number 8 is the phone. 7, letter. 6, instant message. 5, text message. 4, email. 3, Facebook message. 2, Facebook status update, more important than message. And number 1, Twitter. So I think that's just a huge commentary, even though it's funny. It's exactly how some people are thinking today. I have a niece, I have a nephew, he would be very angry that he was called a niece, who doesn't return my calls. If I text, I hear like that. So it is different types of communications. The same thing holds true as we go forward, by the way, for your brand. In addition to those ways of communicating, the daily deals are adding more clutter. We have all sorts of deals. Living Social and Groupon, I'm sure you've heard of. But then we have Fab.com and Deal of the Day. The Business Weekly has a deal. The Journal is working on promoting the deal. So it's just going on, and the noise is continuing to proliferate. So the way you deal with that kind of explosion is you think about, I just didn't have enough rows to put 250 of these icons here, because we're over that in social networks now. But you think about, where are my customers? Again, they aren't everywhere. They probably have picked certain social networks. The big 4, I'm sure you could name, are Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And that's simply by virtue of use. Most businesses today are going to have some kind of a presence on some or all of those networks. A common mistake that we make when we're thinking about jumping into this is we need to be everywhere. And that's one of the reasons we've procrastinated, right? You don't. In fact, I'll repeat it at the end of this program. I have a rule of 3. Start slow. Do you like it? The second part of that rule is you won't like it as much. Keep going. And keep it simple. But that's how you handle all of this new, because every one of these has a bit of a learning curve. You think about where are my customers, and then what platforms would I like to talk with them from? Maybe it is Facebook. That's fine, that's great. Target today, and everyone, I call it Target. We all know Target, right? Mm-hmm. So Target just announced a Facebook application. Everyone's familiar with the word app. So the app is something you download, and then you can put a Halloween costume on your friend's picture. I suspect it will be a raging success. So if you think about what's happening with these channels, in 2010, I'm sorry this isn't as clear as we'd like, the expenditures were the same for traditional media and digital media. And that's really unusual. That had never happened before. And the people, I have a background in radio advertising, you know, people in my group were like, that's a surprise, it'll go away. Well, the projection is now that by 2015, we will be 70% digital and only 30% traditional media. So that only means that our TiVo and our satellite radio are going to get stronger. We'll find ways to tune out some of the 2,000 interruptions that don't work for us. This is a graph that looks at social media. And I know it's confusing because you have to look at it all different ways to read it. But that's exactly what social media is. It communicates with people where they are, not where you are. And your job is to begin to assimilate where your customer is or where the people that you want to relate with are. As Marie at the Santa Fe Business Incubator said to me this week, she said, "Criminy, I can't believe it. I just get Facebook down and now I gotta learn this Google thing." It's not going to quit. Next month, it'll be something else. And the month after that, another thing. So rather than trying to worry with where you are, jump in. It's not about sitting behind your computer and only talking on the web. Ultimately, you have to think about your customer and get customer-centric. If you have people in your company, you've got to involve your people in sales calls, help calls, answering praise on the web. What do we say when somebody says great job? I mean, really, besides thank you. Yes, we do say thank you, but you have to acknowledge that. And that means as a business owner, you have to teach people how to communicate. Social media is really about communicating. So I want you to evaluate, and on your handout you have 5 things that you can evaluate where you are. On a scale of 1 to 5, your message is defined and honed for your ideal customer and presented in their chosen channel. Just think about that for a minute. For a bit of fun, I use this graphic. Think about it as rating your confidence level on a scale of fair to invincible. Where are you? So the second trend has to do with content. Now, you may not consume as many free reports and special offers as I do. I'm always looking to see what the latest marketing trend is. But that's the deal. Everyone has something to offer. And if you've been a skeptic, you've probably thought, well, I don't really need to have a special report. They know me. They know my business. Our company's been here for years. Again, people want what they want when? When they want it. Right. So, having your content, your authentic content, in some format that appeals to your audience is important. I was talking with Gerald, I believe, from Valencia County IT, and he talked about the fact that this part of social media he's interested in is text messaging. And the reason he's interested is that would work well for his customer. That's a good reason. That makes perfect sense. And aren't we happy to know I have a health analysis in progress? So sorry. TMI. Yeah. You're competing with the mind of somebody who's bombarded with how many messages a day? 2,000. Brandon, we get more messages than that. And your job is to make what you say delightful, fresh, entertaining. Oh, and by the way, useful to the customer. Just a small task, right? So the content that you use to do that doesn't have to be just words. It can be audio, video, charts, infographics, illustrations, photos, cartoons, animation, podcasts. Most of us are so used to thinking of content as something we write out that we haven't adapted to new media. But what are most of these devices using right now? Video. Video. It's the hottest thing on the web. Maybe you can't write, but you're very good at talking with people. Consider videos. It could be a social windfall for you because it may work with your audience. Your job as you start to create content is to build a distribution system. Now, that sounds like a big task, but you can actually outline it in less than an hour a month. Here's how it works. Let's say you write an article and submit it to an article bank. There are more than 40 of them that I've identified on the web. Again, my apologies. You might take part of that article and use it on your own blog. Then, with the help of a widget, I explained to somebody, just Google widgets, you'll be amazed at how many thousands there are. You may have a widget that can send it to social bookmarks or social networks. For example, when I post on my blog, it also goes automatically to social networks. That widget saves me time. It lets me be sure that part of the message is always there. Or social content sites. So this means that you're working smarter. You're doing less one-off things and more filtering and managing. But what that requires is thinking. It doesn't happen automatically. You have to think about what it is you want to do and then build a checklist for yourself. And it may depend on what your customer is doing. If you are aiming at helping others, you might want to always be the first to offer them information. The important thing is that you integrate the information into all of your social channels. If you provide superior customer support, then you want to integrate that into your commentary on social networks so that other people can say, yes, I had that experience too. You know, I was in there and this happened. We've all seen that, right? We know that happens. Well, there is a way that you can actually make that happen for you and your company. It involves a bit of personalization. Thinking people. Thinking quality, not quantity. And believe me, in the world of social networking right now, most people are thinking quantity. Am I better off with 50 people who really love me and are true friends? Or with 5,000 that are sick of seeing my status update? So go to number 2 on your handout and evaluate. Where is your business right now? Your business, my business, and my website present authentic messages in updated content. That means on a scale of fair to invincible, where are you? I want to see the person who says invincible. So the third trend, and I'm betting this is one we've all seen also, the tools to manage social media proliferate. And the reason why is scalability. We have to have systems. We have to have things that help us streamline the process. It has to be easier than spending 3 hours at night after you've worked 10 hours or 12, right? So you use technology to help you. And I tell people you use technology to manage multiple products across multiple channels. So that sounds like you have to be a big company, but that's not true. Let's say you're an accountant. So as an accountant, you have multiple products and multiple customers. Let's see, we have our tax customer. That's very big, January through April 15th. Then you have your business customer. You have to get those P&Ls out by the 5th of the month or the 10th or whatever your deadline is. And you have a bookkeeping customer. They don't want to pay for the full P&L, but you enter the receipts and you give them something every month. And you probably have a consulting, you know, you have segmented customer lists. If you had a system, you could actually send different messages to every one of those lists. Because after all, why tell the business client that your tax refund special is $100? No. So find technology that works for you. Now here are some tools you could use tomorrow. Free Google tools. Add big value. So in Google AdWords, you will find, and this gentleman up here is telling me he's an expert at Google AdWords. So he knows exactly where the keyword tool is. Keywords help us get found more quickly. Keywords can advise you what your competitor is doing. You could enter their URL and see what they're using as keywords. You can put 5 or 6 keywords in the keyword tool and then see what Google suggests for you. It's very interesting. I encourage you to at least take a look at it if you've never looked at it. Another tool, everyone in this room should use this tool, is Google Alerts. So a Google Alert is when you enter a query you're interested in, and then Google checks to see if there's any news results, and if there are, it sends you an email. So the first query I would enter is your name in quotes, Mary Ellen Merrigan, and I will show you I got a Google alert when UNM talked about this info byte. It works. I would also suggest that you use the pretty orange button. Now, I happen to be a fan of orange. This button is RSS, really simple syndication. And what it does, it's one of the best tools, free, to streamline your reading on the web. I use it with Google Reader. So Google Reader gives you files. These are all of the blogs. And see, up here you'll see bolded 1,000 items that I haven't read. But it's out of my email box. It doesn't bother me. I can do it on my time. And do you know how quickly you can whip through that and see what you want, as opposed to going to maybe 100 websites? You can put competition. I put clients. And you'll be happy to see that I clicked that folder close so that you didn't see anything you shouldn't see. But I have communicating for profit, surprise. I want to know about people who talk about writing for profit, copywriting, earth changes. You can put anything in and then manage that subscription. It's a great tool. If you own a local business, it's time you claimed your free listing on Google Places. So what you do is go to Google Places, and you can then enter information. Here's what it looks like when you go rate and share places on Google and get your business found on Google. But this is UNM. So it automatically pops you on the map, gives the information. Now, UNM could actually post videos there. You can post up to 5 different categories in Google Places. And remember, what % of people are using this to search? You've got to do that. Because if you're not on mobile as a business, you're missing the boat. Users today have already decided whether you should join in. The answer is yes. It's just up to you to kind of catch up. So this is the section, in addition to Google Places. This is called social location marketing. You wouldn't use it so much as a service business, but certainly if you had a brick and mortar office, you would use the heck out of it. And the places, if you are a restaurant, as Maura with Duran's restaurant in the back there, you would definitely want to be part of things like Gowalla, Foursquare, Yelp. She probably has a review on Yelp and may not even know it. This is what your customers are doing. It's part of social networking. So just in case you sort of missed that hint I dropped, smartphones and tablets rule. They're the technology that is driving part of social media engagement. Smartphone usage is growing so quickly, it's actually predicted to be 50% market share by the end of this year. Yes.
I spoke to Best Buy last weekend concerning the growing integration between smartphones and tablets as to when the little computer geek there felt the integrate finally occur where you're carrying a tablet around as a phone. He says they're still trying to milk the profit margins. He figures another 2 years probably before they have a final integration of the technologies.
Well, and the truth would be, there are some days when I need a bigger screen.
Yes.
So think about where you are, and on that third trend on your paper, rate yourself again, please. My business and my website use technology, keyword, effectively. So remember, this is on your scale from fair to invincible. The fourth trend is not a newsflash either, but some of us may be quite sorry to hear it. You boost your website traffic through interactivity. Now, this means if you have a website that is a brochure website, it's bad news. The brochure site is dead. Not that we ever really could put up a website and just be done with it. You know, it's always a process. It's always evolving. Today, you have to really modernize your website. Now, that means, surprise, make it mobile ready. Make sure your email opt-in is visible on every page, because I promise you, opt-in is going to get more important. We're very conscious and becoming more conscious of this thing called permissions. It's happening on Facebook with their latest changes. They're giving more control back. They don't tell you what that is, but they're giving you an ability to make more of those decisions. Can my friends see, and my friends of friends see my status updates? Social sharing buttons are a minimum. You know, we want to see that thumbs up. We want to see it everywhere. We like it. And as buyers, we give credit to companies that have thumbs up or to ratings that have user reviews. How many of you read those reviews on Amazon or on some place that you go to buy? And some of them are very helpful. I mean, I've held off on a particular product. I bought a particular product all because of reviews. A blog gives you an easy way to update content. And updated content is important to the search engines, but a blog is not for everyone. Photo sharing. You can now go to a social site like Flickr and feed photos from there into a part of your website. Could work, might not be appropriate. You want to think about that. Same thing with video. We talked about if you're a good presenter, video could be perfect for you. On the other hand, if your customer doesn't like to go to video, it's not for you. An events page. If you don't have a blog, some people are using an events page to talk about the things going on in their business or their community and make, again, a reasonable way for Google and this bots to scroll through and see that you've updated something on your website. Because, believe it or not, you're penalized if you aren't consistently updating. And then cross-promoting. It's silly to do this thing called social media and not cross-promote. You all got a copy of a sheet that I'll come to in a minute where they tell you where they are on social media and then what to do about it. It makes sense. Here's the website with social icons. And above that, they say, give us feedback. And that, by the way, that's the continuing, this is UNM continuing ed, not the big UNM. So we're gradually coming to this realization that social media is essential. And we're going to accept it, you know. The statistics sort of look like that. 75% of companies now have a page on at least one social networking site. 61% of small business across the country has used social media. I love the one about a report by Scipion that surveyed reporters and editors of newspapers, magazines, TV. And the statistics show that 89% use blogs for their story research. 65% use sites like Facebook or LinkedIn. More than 50% use Twitter. And then there was a note, the same survey said some verification is required. That some verification required is part of the key. You can use social media for a variety of tasks. A blog to share, research, comment, like commenting on other blogs or commenting on other people's walls. Promote. You can promote all you want. Bookmark. Share an interesting piece of content or article. Exchange. Market. Too much. Back to the cross-promote. This is a post that I did on a Facebook wall, and I used my Merrigan Group Facebook page primarily to show people in a social media class what it's about. It's not that I expect to have tons of business from Facebook. But I put a post there, how to add social networking buttons to your Outlook email signature. And then, surprise, I did it on my own. So there's my confession. I just did that not too long ago. I really resisted promoting my social icons on email for a very long time. I wrote about this InfoBite on August 25th. And this is my, I like social media, use the internet lane. It was picked up in a variety of places. On early in September, UNM, September 13th, UNM picked it up on their calendar, and they ran a post. But this is how cross-promotion begins to work. I got a Google alert that said I was featured on UNM Continuing Ed, and I got a link to where I could find the post. Then today, I did a status update. This P shows that I shared it through Ping FM. Ping is a tool that will post to all of your networks at once, if that's appropriate. So I posted, join me for tonight's InfoBite, current trends, blah, blah, blah. And I gave them a shortened URL. That was picked up on Twitter 3 or 4 times today by different people. Here's Bill Bateman 1. And he's got like a little news report. That's the one I mentioned. He's got an author's, something about an author there. UNM picked it up. Somebody else repeated it. So people will work with you. And in between there, I have lots of other things that I talked about. It wasn't just, oh, this is what I'm doing. This is the only thing I'm doing. Oh, by the way, please come see what I'm doing. Now we have the spyware doctor.
Yeah.
So I couldn't shut everything down, but you're happy to see I didn't have a threat rating, right? This is the piece that you have in front of you. And what I'd like to point out, not all of us are UNM with 10 or 15 different things to promote on Facebook, for example, or 2 or 3 on LinkedIn. What's nice about this is you've got everything right there, and they tell you not only where you can find them, but what you can do. Okay, you can click to be our fan. You can like this. You can relay this. This is part of how you groom your customers. It's like you have to train them. How do you want them to respond? Well, tell them. Tell them gently. Now, the funny story was that I had included this, I scanned it in and included it in my presentation. And when Jeremy came to set up the video, I said, by the way, could we have copies of that? Because this is what this class is about. And we should talk about the good things that we see going on with social media. Of course, we've already talked about this several times. We have to understand mobile really matters. And it really matters because it's way more interactive than anything else. You, as any kind of business person, have to be conscious of how many smartphones people are using. You can't read this tiny type, although you can access it later on SlideShare. But no, 72 million and growing. That's how many people are using smartphones. This gives credit to Android as being the biggest growth. Now, we aren't using our phone for phones. Big newsflash. We use it first of all to text, secondly for the internet, thirdly for email, and number 4, we will take a phone call. Pretty funny, huh? But this, I think, is the most revealing piece. This data tsunami. So this is a study that was done in May. It's not that old. And the number that is absolutely mind-boggling to me is 89% increase year over year. That means that the average smartphone user has increased their data consumption almost 100%. Now, you've got one of these cute little black things, 2 of them actually, on your handout. How many of you have a quick response scanner? Okay? So if you have the QR reader, then you can simply scan this, and your smartphone will turn the code into information or direct you immediately to a URL. Again, this is how we're making mobile friendly. The most popular download is a QR reader by iTap Media. And then you can just Google a QR generator. There are dozens of them. I use Kalana. But you put in your text or you put in your URL and it will immediately convert it. So take just a minute and evaluate yourself on number 4. Remember, my website is interactive and mobile friendly on a level of fair to invincible. So the final trend, trend number 5. If you plan tactics, you will increase by multitudes your success. That means a SMART goal. Social media is like business in that you have to have a goal. I really congratulate each one of you for thinking about it enough to come and hear about it tonight, because you had a goal. And if you do nothing else, you will be far more effective as a result, just because you thought about it to this extent. I would encourage you to think about, what do you want? Do you want traffic for your website? Do you want to be known as a thought leader? Maybe create leads or generate buzz or more sales. You may have any one of those or all of them as your goal. If you have a company though, you must communicate with your employees. They need to know what your goal is. And then you'll want to talk about who's responsible for what. Because if you have a company with employees, read my lips, you can't do it all. You must include people. The numbers say that less than 30% of companies at this point have policies or procedures or even ideas for employees. And don't get me wrong, it's not a requirement, but I promise you, your employees are using social media. So why not let them work for you and with you, and let them help you advertise and cross-promote. It only makes sense. Think about the time commitment. Think about measuring what it is that you want. Your social media will feed into every part of your website. The links, because you could link to your website, not with every post, but with some. Your keywords, your search engine optimization, your RSS. You could syndicate any part of what you do, and you can syndicate most of your social channels now. Your blog, or your comments on other blogs. Begin with the end in mind. It's like losing weight. I figured that was one of those goals you can't miss. We all want to lose weight, right? You can't do it without a plan and working at that plan. You really, if you're going to drop inches, have to plan exercise, probably change some food intake, and make an attempt to make it work for you. So the same way with social media. It's not difficult to develop a routine, but there is that learning curve. And we talk about it in the class. We actually give you some very specific routines. We talk procedures, boundaries. If you're having employees help, you'll want boundaries. If you have employees, you want boundaries, right? Streamline the process. Just like using something as simple as Ping FM, or using a widget to deliver to all of your social channels. And don't forget, measure. Even if you're only wanting to increase your likes on Facebook, you need to know where you began, and then every month, what you do to increase. So my rule of 3 again, start slow, be consistent. Better to have one social media channel and be regular on it than to start with 10 or 5 and drop out because it's too hard. Start slow, be consistent, and keep going. It does get easier. So what's the ROI? You are always hearing that? ROI? The ROI is that your business will still exist in 5 years. I think it's that serious. So I mentioned the Wall Street Journal. This was the email talking about the Journal's social app that came out today. But I wouldn't want to leave without you evaluating that last thing. Do you have a plan? It's your marketing plan for social media. So evaluate yourself. Remember, on the scale of fair to invincible, it's completed and in place. The class is class 55623. It'll meet from 6 to 9 p.m. I'm sorry, I know it's late. 6 to 9 is a tough thing to teach as well as be part of. But I promise, we'll make it entertaining. If you scan this, it will take you right to the place on UNM's website where you can register. So, that's my info guide on social media. Thank you so much for your attention.